Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am absolutely thrilled to be sitting across from a true icon of the avant-garde. For those who may somehow not know who you are you?
It is a pleasure to be here. I am Salvador Dalí. I am the surrealism itself. I spent my life showing the world that reality is merely a canvas for the dreams that swim in our subconscious. I am a painter, a sculptor, a writer, and above all, a creator of worlds that do not follow the boring rules of logic.
Spoken like a true legend. Let's go back to the beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born on May 11th, 1904, in a beautiful town called Figueres in the Catalonia region of Spain. A place of intense light and strange winds that shaped my vision early on.
And what was your given name at birth?
My name was Salvador Felipe Jacinto Dalí y Domènech.
That's quite a name. Is there a story behind it?
A very profound and ghostly one. I was named Salvador after my older brother, who died exactly 9 months and 10 days before I was born. My parents believed I was his reincarnation. When I was 5, they took me to his grave and told me I was him. This created a great theater in my mind. I spent my life proving that I was the living Salvador, not the dead one.
That is intense. What was your hometown like growing up?
Figueres and the nearby Cadaqués were magical. The rocky coastline of the Costa Brava, the way the stones looked like monsters or faces, depending on how the sun hit them, that stayed with me. Those rocks appear in my paintings forever. It was a landscape of the imagination.
What was your family life like back then?
It was a house of extremes. My father was a strict notary, very disciplined, while my mother was gentle and encouraged my artistic whims. They doted on me, perhaps because of the brother they lost. I was the center of the universe in that house.
I can see how that would shape a personality. What kind of kid were you?
I was eccentric, precocious, and quite a handful. I would throw tantrums just to see the reaction. I wanted to be noticed. I wore odd clothes and had a very vivid internal world. I wasn't just a child. I was a performer from the start.
Did you have any big fears growing up?
Oh, many. I was terrified of grasshoppers. They felt like mechanical monsters to me. I also had a great fear of the mundane, of being ordinary. That was perhaps my greatest phobia.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
At 6, I wanted to be a cook. At 7, I wanted to be Napoleon. And my ambition has only grown since then.
From Napoleon to the king of surrealism. What were some of your favorite activities in school?
I was not the most disciplined student in the traditional sense, but I loved drawing, of course. I enjoyed daydreaming and staring out the window at the shapes in the clouds. I eventually went to the San Fernando Academy of Art in Madrid, which was quite an adventure.
What was your first job?
My job has always been my art. My first public exhibition was at the Municipal Theater in Figueres when I was only 14. I never wanted to do anything else but create.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
Always. I felt it in the way I saw colors and shadows, but specifically in Madrid, when I met friends like Federico Garcia Lorca and Luis Buñuel, I realized that while they were brilliant, I had a specific, paranoiac, critical way of seeing the world that was entirely mine.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Meeting Gala in 1929. She was the wife of the poet Paul Éluard at the time. It felt like a lightning bolt, but I didn't know then that she would become my muse, my manager, and the very oxygen of my life. Without Gala, there is no Dalí.
She really was your everything. What was your biggest break?
Joining the Surrealist group in Paris and then painting The Persistence of Memory in 1931, the soft melting watches. That image traveled the world and made people realize that time is not as solid as we think.
Those melting clocks are iconic. What were your biggest struggles before success?
My father disapproved of my relationship with Gala and my radical art. He actually threw me out of the house at one point. I had very little money in those early Paris days, living on little more than ambition and the support of a few patrons.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Never. To quit would be to stop breathing. Even in the hardest times, I knew I was a genius. It was just a matter of the world catching up to me.
I love that confidence. Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel were essential to your success?
I practiced the slumber with a key. I would sit in a chair with a heavy key in my hand and a tin plate on the floor. Just as I fell asleep and dropped the key, the noise would wake me up. In that split second between sleep and wakefulness, I saw the most incredible images for my paintings.
That is a brilliant hack for the subconscious. What job would you have had if fame never happened?
Perhaps a jeweler or a scientist. I was obsessed with the structure of the atom and the mathematics of the divine proportion.
What was your life like before fame?
It was a time of intense searching. Long days of painting in Caracas, staring at the sea, and trying to capture the light of the Mediterranean. It was quieter, but the fire was already burning.
How did relationships change after success?
I became a public spectacle. People wanted the Dalí show. Some old friends felt I became too commercial. Andre Breton even nicknamed me Avida Dollars, an anagram of my name. But I didn't mind. I loved the gold.
Did fame bring happiness?
It brought freedom. It allowed me to live out my wildest fantasies and create monuments to my own imagination, like my museum in Figueres.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
People often expected me to be on all the time. Sometimes they forgot that behind the mustache and the canes, there was a man who worked very, very hard at his craft.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Many thought I was truly mad. I always said, the only difference between me and a madman is that I am not mad. Every eccentric thing I did was a calculated choice.
What was your darkest moment?
When my mother passed away when I was 16, it was the greatest blow of my life. I worshipped her, and her death felt like a personal insult from the universe.
What past regrets did you carry?
My complicated relationship with my father. We remained estranged for many years, and that tension was a shadow over my life, even as I became successful.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
That I was just a painter. I was a designer of theater, films, fashion, and even jewelry. I wanted to touch every part of the human experience with surrealism.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong and how you handled it.
My first visit to the United States could have been a disaster because I didn't speak the language well, but I turned my strangeness into a brand. If things went wrong, I simply made them more surreal until people thought it was intentional.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It made it more comfortable, but it didn't change my eyes. I still saw the world as a place of wonder and hidden meanings, whether I was eating a crust of bread or dining with royalty.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
Gala, without question, and Sigmund Freud. His work on dreams gave me the map to the world I wanted to paint.
What was life like in your final years?
I retreated mostly to my castle in Pubol, and later to the Galatea Tower in my museum. I was very quiet, very focused on my legacy. I wanted to ensure that my world would live on after I left it.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was fascinated by stereoscopy and holography, trying to find ways to make art truly three-dimensional and immersive.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on January 23, 1989, in my hometown of Figueres.
What happened?
My heart simply reached its final beat. I was 84 years old, and I died while listening to my favorite record, Wagner's Tristan und Isolde. It was a dramatic, beautiful end.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I designed the logo for Chupa Chups Lollipops. I did it in an hour while sitting at a cafe, and I insisted the logo be placed on the very top of the wrapper so it was always seen.
That is amazing. What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
that I used to pay for expensive dinners by drawing on the back of the checks, knowing the restaurant would never cash such a valuable piece of art. Well, that one might actually be true.
What was your most unique habit?
I would often travel with a pet ocelot named Babu. He went everywhere with me, into restaurants, onto luxury liners. He was a very surrealist companion.
What was your favorite food?
Sea urchins! And I loved bread. I even painted it many times. To me, bread was very philosophical.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
Maxim's in Paris was always a favorite spot for a grand entrance.
What was your favorite book?
Don Quixote. I felt a great kinship with the man who saw giants where others saw windmills.
Did you have any known rivalries?
My relationship with the surrealist leader André Breton was very fiery. He eventually excommunicated me from the group, but as I said, I was surrealism, so I didn't mind.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
Once, I arrived at a lecture in London wearing a deep-sea diving suit. I almost suffocated because nobody could get the helmet off. I was gasping for air while the audience thought it was all part of the performance.
That is terrifying and hilarious at the same time. What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
Working with Walt Disney on the film Destino. People thought we were a strange pair, but we both loved the impossible. Watching the king of animation and the king of surrealism try to agree on a sequence was a comedy in itself.
Did you ever prank someone?
I loved to give people surprising gifts. I once sent a famous actress a box of what looked like chocolates, but they were actually very realistic-looking beetles.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
A white Rolls-Royce Phantom 2, which I filled with 500 kilograms of cauliflower to drive from Spain to Paris. I wanted to see the logarithmic beauty of the vegetables against the car.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it. But more importantly, be unique. If you are like everyone else, you are invisible. Intelligence without ambition is a bird without wings.
Salvador, this has been an absolute whirlwind. Do you have any closing remarks or stories you'd like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
Only that the world is a masterpiece waiting to be seen. Do not look at things, see them. Thank you, Calvin, for allowing me to twirl my mustache for your audience one more time. It has been divine.
Truly a one-of-a-kind conversation. We've touched on everything from melting clocks to cauliflower-filled cars. Salvador, thank you so much for joining us. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.